What do you mean Ryan will be CEO? I'm the one who saved this hotel. My voice rang through the newly renovated lobby, echoing against the sleek, mountain-inspired decor I had spent months perfecting. Mom's casual wave felt like a slap. Claire, honey, your brother has more natural leadership ability. You're too focused on details, she said, her tone as patronizing as if she were explaining bedtime rules to a child. And right on cue, Ryan strolled in, hands in pockets, wearing that smug grin I'd known since childhood. Don't take it personally, sis. Someone needs to handle the small stuff while I focus on the big picture. My name is Claire Anderson. I'm 52 years old, and I never imagined I'd be fighting for recognition in my own family's business. After 20 years of successful hotel management in Chicago, I gave up everything to come home to Colorado and rescue the Mountain Pine Lodge. The bitter irony? I was the only one with any real hospitality experience. Ryan, 3 years younger, had spent his life bouncing from one job to the next, never lasting longer than a year. 8 months ago, Dad called me in tears, admitting the hotel was weeks from bankruptcy. I didn't hesitate. I sold my condo, drained my savings, and moved back home. The lodge was a disaster: dated decor, clunky systems, no online presence, and reviews that made me cringe. I threw myself into the work, upgrading technology, redesigning spaces, negotiating with vendors, retraining staff. I even leveraged my industry contacts to land us features in travel magazines. And it worked. The transformation was remarkable. Our bookings doubled, profits returned, and the Mountain Pine Lodge was suddenly the talk of the town. Every decision, from the locally sourced artwork to the upgraded amenities, was deliberate, designed to create an unforgettable guest experience. But standing here now, watching Ryan smirk while my parents hand him the reins, it's clear none of that matters to them. The worst part? Tonight, at the very meeting where I was supposed to share our record-breaking quarterly results, they'll be announcing Ryan as CEO. I can already feel the staff's eyes on me, especially Sarah, our head housekeeper of 20 years. They all know who turned this place around, yet like me, they'll stand silently, forced to accept this charade. To understand how we got here, you need to know the history. My grandparents built the Mountain Pine Lodge in 1971, and I practically grew up in its halls. I learned the business from the ground up, checking in guests with Mom, shadowing Dad on maintenance calls. I loved it. Ryan never cared. He drifted from one ambition to another: architecture, business, then nothing at all. He dropped out of college while I built a career in Chicago, climbing from front desk manager to regional director for a major hotel chain. But no matter what I achieved, my family's reaction was tepid. "That's nice, dear," they'd say, "but when are you coming home? When are you settling down?" It was never enough. When Dad confessed the hotel was failing, I knew exactly what needed to be done. The place was bleeding money, antiquated systems, no marketing, poor reviews. I couldn't stand to see our legacy collapse, so I walked away from my career and returned. The first month was triage, repairing broken equipment, modernizing the booking system, retraining staff. I poured my own money into renovations, new carpets, updated furniture, a refreshed lobby. Slowly, the lodge came back to life. Meanwhile, Ryan was nowhere to be found. He was in Denver, networking, which mostly meant partying. Occasionally, he'd show up at family dinners, toss out vague ideas about modernization, then vanish again. Yet somehow, our parents equated his armchair commentary with my relentless grind. I convinced myself results would speak louder than favoritism, that once they saw the financial turnaround, the stellar reviews, the packed bookings, they'd finally acknowledge me. I should have known better. In recent weeks, Ryan has strutted through the hotel making reckless decisions. He slashed our continental breakfast to save money, ignoring the fact that it's one of our top-rated amenities. When I showed him the guest data, he laughed. "Numbers aren't everything, sis." This morning was the breaking point. I walked in just as he was firing Maureen, our head housekeeper of 15 years, because she wasn't flexible enough for his new scheduling system, a system that would have left us critically understaffed. I managed to save her job, but the humiliation on her face will stay with me. When I took my concerns to Mom and Dad, armed with spreadsheets, glowing reviews, and future projections, Dad just stared at his coffee. Mom patted my hand. "Your brother needs time to find his footing. He has such wonderful ideas." That's when I saw it, the for sale sign outside the old Riverside Lodge. Once our biggest competitor, it had fallen into disrepair, but the location was unbeatable: better views, closer to the slopes, a larger spa. It needed work, but I knew exactly how to bring it back. I sat in that parking lot for nearly an hour, replaying every time my parents had dismissed me in favor of Ryan, every overlooked achievement, every minimized contribution. Something shifted inside me, or maybe it finally snapped into place. I picked up my phone and called my realtor. The owners were eager to sell, and thanks to my savings and spotless credit. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I'd already scheduled a viewing of Riverside Lodge for the next morning. For the first time in months, I felt alive again, energized, hopeful. I didn't have to stand by while Ryan ran the family hotel into the ground. I could build something of my own. Let them see what they lost when they chose him over me. The next few months were a blur of planning, construction, and relentless work. While Ryan turned Mountain Pine into his personal playground, I was assembling contractors, redesigning spaces, and recruiting a team of seasoned professionals who shared my vision. I named it the Summit, perhaps a little on the nose, but I wanted the name to reflect exactly what I was aiming for. News spread quickly. Some called me bitter, accusing me of betraying my family. Others, especially the staff who had once worked under me, quietly rooted for my success. My parents tried guilt first. How could you do this to your brother, to us? Mom demanded at one of our increasingly strained dinners. I just smiled and changed the subject. Meanwhile, Mountain Pine's decline was impossible to ignore. Reviews slipped, staff quit, and Ryan's careless decisions left guests complaining about everything from dirty rooms to poor service. Occupancy plummeted until they were forced to cut rates just to fill beds. 6 months later, the Summit opened its doors. I'll never forget the look on my family's faces as they walked into the bustling grand opening. Mom's forced smile, Dad's stunned silence, Ryan's seething glare. The local paper snapped photos, capturing Aspen's newest luxury destination in all its glory. "You're trying to destroy us," Ryan hissed when he cornered me at the bar. "No, Ryan," I replied evenly. "This is me succeeding despite us." The contrast between the two hotels couldn't have been sharper. Mountain Pine was falling apart, while the Summit was thriving with eco-friendly initiatives, luxury amenities, and every innovation I'd once dreamed of introducing back home. But success wasn't without challenges. Vendors were pressured not to work with me. Old family friends suddenly stopped returning calls. I was even removed from the local tourism board for conflict of interest. Instead of folding, I adapted, finding new suppliers in Denver, partnering with ski tour operators, and leaning into innovation. Every setback fueled me. Then came the moment that tested everything. My parents arrived at my office one morning, faces drawn. The bank was threatening to foreclose on Mountain Pine. Ryan was in over his head. "We need you back," Mom said softly, "not as CEO, but to help your brother." I looked around the office I'd built from nothing and felt nothing but clarity. "I offered to help months ago," I told them. "You chose Ryan, now you'll live with that choice." The whispers in town grew louder. People called me ungrateful, bitter, disloyal, and yes, some days the weight of it stung. But every morning when I walked into the Summit's vibrant lobby, guests buzzing with excitement, staff moving with effortless efficiency, the smell of fresh coffee mingling with crisp mountain air, I knew I'd made the right decision. The real vindication came at the Colorado Luxury Hotels Awards. The Summit was nominated for Best New Boutique Hotel. Mountain Pine didn't receive a single nod. When the Summit won, I walked to the stage with my team cheering around me. In the back of the ballroom, I spotted my parents. Mom's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Dad looked as though he'd aged a decade. Ryan wasn't there, he'd stopped showing up months ago. My acceptance speech was short. I thanked my team, our guests, and even acknowledged Mountain Pine as the place where I'd first discovered my passion for hospitality. The room shifted uncomfortably, but I meant every word. Afterward, a travel magazine editor pulled me aside. They wanted to feature the Summit as the boutique destination of the Rockies. In the same issue, they planned to highlight traditional hotels that were failing to adapt, Mountain Pine among them. When the article hit, it was like a thunderclap through town. Those who once called me spiteful were forced to face the truth. Mountain Pine hadn't failed because of me. It failed because my parents had handed it to someone who didn't care. Looking back, I feel a tangle of emotions. The sting of being overlooked never fully fades, but what's stronger is the freedom I've found. At the Summit, I don't need validation. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. I walk into the lobby each morning and see the life I built with my own 2 hands, the thriving team, the buzzing guests, the dream finally realized. It's everything I once wanted Mountain Pine Lodge to be. And it's mine. I never expected people like Sarah and Maria, former Mountain Pine employees who'd walked away after seeing the same lack of leadership I had, to become so essential to the summit's success. Their loyalty humbles me every day. Sarah often jokes that, for the first time in her career, her ideas are truly valued. I know exactly how she feels. Outside of work, I've started reconnecting with old friends. For too long, I was consumed by trying to prove myself to my parents, letting relationships fade. Now I'm making time for coffee dates, hikes, and simple conversations I'd missed. Even some who once criticized me for competing with my family have quietly admitted they admire what I built. Hosting events at the summit has also helped me rediscover my place in the community. Last month, we held a fundraiser for the local animal shelter in our new event space. The laughter, the music, the sense of shared purpose, it reminded me why I fell in love with hospitality in the first place, creating spaces where people feel connected, joyful, and cared for. But it's not all easy. On quiet nights, I sometimes think of my parents and Ryan. I wonder if they'll ever truly grasp the sacrifices I made to save our family's legacy. Still, I've learned I don't need their recognition. My happiness and my success are mine alone. For years I lived under the shadow of their expectations. Now, I finally stand in my own light. About 3 weeks after the Colorado Luxury Hotels Awards, my parents invited me to dinner, just the three of us. I almost didn't go, but curiosity got the better of me. The atmosphere was strained. Mom greeted me with a brittle smile, and Dad busied himself with his watch. Over dinner, they made small talk about the weather, about the summit's glowing reviews. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Claire, we wanted to say, we're proud of what you've accomplished." Mom jumped in quickly. "We know we haven't always shown it, but the summit is remarkable." I wanted their words to mean something, but they felt hollow, too little, too late. I waited, knowing what was coming. Sure enough, Mom leaned forward. "Ryan's struggling, the hotel's in trouble. We were hoping you might guide him, help us turn things around." I studied them carefully, Mom gripping her wine glass too tightly, Dad staring at the tablecloth as if it could rescue him. "I offered to help a year ago," I said evenly. "I left my life in Chicago to save Mountain Pine, and you chose Ryan. Now you want me to fix his mistakes. I'm sorry, but no." Mom opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. "I'll give advice if you want it. I'll share resources, but I won't come back to clean up Ryan's mess. That's not my responsibility anymore." They had no answer. Dad muttered something about understanding, though disappointment clouded his face. Mom looked like she wanted to argue, but for once, she didn't. Driving home, I felt lighter. For the first time, I had drawn a line, and kept it. In the weeks that followed, that boundary gave me strength. I stopped over-explaining myself to others. I let go of draining relationships. I doubled down on what mattered, the people and the work that filled me with purpose. The summit thrived, occupancy rates soared, inquiries from other hotel owners poured in, and our reputation grew. Meanwhile, Mountain Pine continued its slow decline. My parents eventually brought in a consultant, but Ryan never acknowledged me, not that I needed him to. His failures are his to carry. One morning, sunlight streamed into the summit's lobby, catching on the sleek lines of the decor I had envisioned. Guests laughed as they planned their day, staff moved with quiet confidence, tending to every detail, and I realized, this wasn't just a hotel, it was a reflection of everything I'd fought for: my resilience, my vision, my independence. The journey was painful, but it freed me. I no longer lived for scraps of my parents' approval. I had carved out my own legacy. That truth crystallized at the Regional Hospitality Awards. The summit was named Boutique Hotel of the Year. As applause erupted and my team cheered, I glimpsed my parents in the back. Dad gave a small nod. Mom's eyes glistened. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. Afterward, I celebrated with my team. My parents didn't approach me, and I didn't seek them out. This victory wasn't about them, it was about us. For the first time in my life, I felt free. Success no longer meant proving them wrong, it meant proving to myself that I was capable, deserving, enough. And as I raised a glass with my team that night, I knew I'd found something even more powerful than success. Peace.